Phala Phala judgment paved a way for President Ramaphosa to be impeached. And I'm going to give you everything. I'm going to give you all the details that you want, where it started and how it ended. The ANC has responded. MK Party reacted. President himself, President Ramaphosa, has responded. There's something that was said by President Jacob Zuma then about this matter. I need to break it. I need to break everything down so you understand how we landed into today's judgment. It was in 2020, you know what was happening in 2020? In the middle of that, some people broke into President Cyril Ramaphosa's farm. Instead of President Cyril Ramaphosa going to court or going to the police station to report the matter, he chose not to do so, but rather President Ramaphosa reported this to private investigators so they can privately investigate that. There are matters of questions here, matters of importance, such as the $580,000 that have been declared, that rather was lost as a result of this break. So this then, the breaking that you're seeing here, it led to the ATM, political parties like the ATM, EFF, pushed very hard that Ramaphosa must account for his actions. Number one, the problem there was the issue of currency. How do you keep 580,000, which is close to 100 million rand? It's around 95 million rand or so. So remember, it's actually 580,000 US dollars. So in South African rand, it is close to, that money there. So you have a president who did not declare that amount of money, which is still a guilty verdict for having that currency in your position without declaring that currency. Number two, the problem is when that currency, which was stored illegally, when it got lost, you still did not follow the proper channels to report this criminal activity. Instead, President Ramaphosa approached the head of protection unit, it's called what, VIP protection unit. Instead of reporting this to the police station, he went to the head of VIP protection unit. If I'm not mistaken, that guy is suspended as we speak. So there was a man by the name of Arthur Fraser. Arthur Fraser had served in crucial position. We are here today, we are seeing what we are seeing today because of Arthur Fraser. Arthur Fraser decided to open a criminal case against President Ramaphosa for this matter. The matter then went as far as a man by the name of Justice Ngobo, Chief Justice Ngobo. Chief Justice Ngobo then issued a report. On that report, it was said that President Cyril Ramaphosa has got a prima facie case to answer. The matter was then taken to Parliament. ANC, using its own majority, decided that they are going to vote against the adoption of the section 89, section 89 panel report, which was chaired by Chief Justice Ngobo. There was a moment of voting. That moment of voting happened before the second term of President Cyril Ramaphosa. just towards the end of the first term when the ANC still had its own majority in parliament. But there were members of the ANC who did not vote for President Ramaphosa or in favor of President Ramaphosa. They voted that we should adopt this. Part of the people who did that was this woman.
As a disciplined member of the ANC, I vote yes.
Order, honorable members. Order. Order, honorable members. Please. Order, honorable members, please.
So then, once that was done, political party realized that no man, in fact, before political parties, somewhere around 2022, people began complaining that media were not doing the right thing. They complained that media was hiding this information from the people. People began complaining that if it was President Jacob Zuma, the issue of Phala Phala would have been all over the media. Why is the issue of Phala Phala being less spoken of by the media? Why is the media not promoting that? Part of the person who complained about that, if I'm not mistaken, it would be somewhere around June, July 2022, when President Ramaphosa had called a press conference under his foundation, Jacob Zuma Foundation, and he said this.
There is complete silence by the media.
Silence.
About the Phala Phala allegations. It's true.
After that, a political party like ATM decided that they are not going to sit and relax. Rather, they are going to push. ATM had done quite a lot of work. ATM is one of the political parties that decided to make this their special project. They were later joined by EFF. It was EFF together with ATM who took the matter to the Constitutional Court after, and I must emphasize this, for them to take the matter to the Constitutional Court, it happened because the ANC had decided not to adopt the Section 89 recommendation by former Chief Justice Ngobo. Because the ANC had it used its own majority as a way to counter that politically, they thought that would have been the end of the day. But the ATM together with the ATM together with EFF took the matter to the Constitutional Court. These are their arguments before the Constitutional Court.
And what we draw attention to here is look at what the individual ANC MP says. And I'm not hooking the entire submission on this. I'm just saying here's another indication of the reality of how politics operates in the House. Is Ms. T. Mohammed Phala. Yes, Mohammed
She wanted
Phala.
correction of her votes, whether it should be yes or no.
So that's it. But even if we didn't have that evidence on the record, the debate goes back to that earlier Glenister point that I made, which is that it's not wrong for a litigant to say that the structure adopted in decision-making lends itself towards unlawfulness, and that the basis of the attack which is being launched, and which my clients have launched, is to remedy that potential unlawfulness which stems from the structure as it exists. And so we would say, never mind the evidence, there's also the Glenister line of arguments which allows us...
Sorry, before you leave this point, doesn't that interchange or reference to Mrs. Mahambe Hlala indicates that she looked and realized that her vote was wrongly captured? She wanted a correction of that, and that in itself would mean that she exercised her mind.
No.
Or we should read into it that she had been influenced.
But look at her actual words, because that's important then. Because what the actual words say is, it says, "It came to my attention that my vote for party line is captured incorrectly. Vote for party line is no." And then she goes on to say, "It came to my attention, interjections, that it was recorded as a yes. I vote no, thank you." So what she herself tells you is that it's not a separate application of her mind. It's that she was responding to her party line. And remember, there's a distinction here about the party line. I think, based on UDM at least, if it was a nakedly political party line, so in other words, Minister Lamola said, whatever this report says, as an ANC MP, you vote against it, come hell or high water. That would be a clear violation of UDM. But in this particular context, there's a clash here between a party line which is constructed on what we say is an incorrect evidential threshold, which is then dictated to party MPs to vote it in a particular way. And when her vote is accidentally recorded as going one way, she stands up and she says, "I'm sorry, my vote according to the party line should go the other way." And that takes us back to the UDM territory of the clash between political direction and constitutional obligation in terms of the oath of office. And we say that that's the territory we are in.
But we all live in South Africa. And we know how...
Last time I checked, yes.
Yeah, we all live in South Africa.
Yes.
What's wrong with voting according to party lines?
No, but
it's happening all the time.
No, but may I suggest this, that argument...
All political parties
yes.
vote according to party lines.
That's perfectly correct, but what UDM foreshadows is the clash between those party lines and constitutional obligation. But if we step away from that UDM clash point, and let me accept for the moment what you say, that party lines are perfectly legitimate, then what that invites is the party line given and relied upon, and whether that line is a lawful reason. And that takes you to the first example I sketched out.
It's something else.
Yeah, so I think, yes, that's what I would say.
All right, let me conclude.
Sorry, there was a second response I owed you, okay. I think. The first one was about the will of the people.
Then the matter was before the Constitutional Court. For a very long time, nothing is happening. For a very long time, no one is doing anything. For a very long time, people started complaining. You will remember that the EFF had to write to the Constitutional Court asking about this judgment. The ATM had remained restless around this case. They continued to demand for answers, but answers were not forthcoming. It was not up until Tuesday this week. Then we heard that Friday, today, the day has come where the court was going to hand down the judgment. Yes, Friday, the 8th of May, 2026. The court, indeed, the Constitutional Court, through the mouth of Chief Justice Meyer, handed down the judgment, and this is what they said.
The conclusion is this. The effect of the three judgments is as follows. This court, A, unanimously finds that it has exclusive jurisdiction in respect of the challenge to the validity of Rule 129I. B, by a majority, finds that it does not have exclusive jurisdiction in respect of the challenge to the NA vote. C, by a majority, concludes that Rule 129I is inconsistent with the Constitution and invalid. D, by a majority, concludes that the NA vote is inconsistent with the Constitution and invalid. And E, by a majority, concludes that the report must be referred to the impeachment committee.
You will remember that I had said that a person like a political party like ATM had been saying that there is foul play in this Phala Phala saga. You will remember ATM is on record saying that there is everything wrong with how Phala Phala matter was handled. They fought and they fought and they fought. They had so many press conferences. Yes, I do understand that some people today are basically saying, are giving credit to the EFF, but to be quite honest and to be quite fair, watch this.
Thank you, Chair. There are certain principles that ought to guide us as a country. One being the rule of law, the other being we are all equal before the law. Now, if any ordinary citizen would have committed the same crimes as committed by Ramaphosa, we do not think that after 70 days, SARS, the Reserve Bank, FIC, and all of these other institutions would have kept quiet. They would have acted. Therefore, we're dealing with a person that is highly protected by the institutions. That is why even the Hawks or NPA can't even outright state that they're investigating Ramaphosa. So we believe as the ATM that the coming together of opposition parties in Parliament will enforce accountability. You'll remember that there are times whereby members of the ANC were to try to enforce accountability in Parliament, but they get suspended. However, as opposition parties, we are not at the mercy of Ramaphosa or the ANC. Therefore, we believe that the President is ultimately accountable to Parliament, and as members of Parliament as we are, it is our duty and obligation to make sure that he accounts. And we are going to continue with this process up until it reaches the finality of Mr. Ramaphosa being impeached and the motion of no confidence is passed against him. Thank you.
So, ATM, Vuyo Zungula deserve credit of the outcome. They may have 2 seats in Parliament, but they have used their 2 seats effectively. And together with the EFF have brought us to where we are today. But before now, we can talk about the impeachment process. What will happen? How does Cyril Ramaphosa get then impeached? I first need to cover up the reaction from the political parties. The first political party that I need to talk to you about is the ATM themselves. They reacted to this and said this.
We thought we were playing games when we were fighting this issue. We're the sole party that fought for accountability on this matter. Now that the court has really confirmed that the ANC abused its majority and took an unlawful decision, for us it is a case of substance over numbers. They may have the numbers, but they lack the substance. ATM, only with 2 seats, was able to provide substance that has led into the highest court in the land agreeing with us. The next step now is that we are going to go to the impeachment process, where that substance of the ATM with the 2 seats that it has is going to put the interests of the people first. Very much. Thank you.
After the ATM, you then have another political party that also reacted, which is the EFF. They are saying we need to have the impeachment process started immediately. And I can tell you that the political parties, opposition political parties, do want this matter to start as soon as possible. However, I can guarantee you that's not going to happen. The ANC will drag this to the best of their ability. The word immediate effect does not apply to the ANC. The ANC will not apply the word immediate effect. We know because the Speaker of National Assembly comes from the ANC. Talk what it is. So, although the EFF is calling for immediate effect, this effect, but you and I know that this is not going to happen. But then EFF said this.
Of that. So people use their majority to become unreasonable. And that's why we are saying, and that's what we've been saying throughout, even under President Zuma, every decision must meet the rationality test. And we told them this is not, how do you say, the panel says with the former Chief Justice, there is prima facie of wrongdoing here. And then you say we can use majority to suppress corruption. They must be ashamed of themselves. And we want to say, Mama Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, wherever she is, she must be proud of herself because she acted alone against her own comrades. Because her conscience was very clear. She was using the conscience as guided by the then Chief Justice, that parliamentarians must be guided by their conscience and not by the party line.
The order is very clear. The impeachment committee must be set up.
Yes.
How soon, from your point of view, do you think it ought to be established?
I think the chief whip of the EFF, because she's not here, she should have written by now to the speaker to establish the impeachment process immediately, because we cannot wait for any longer. We have been waiting for too long now. The impeachment process must kick in with immediate effect, and that's what we are going to demand. And let's see the end of the DA, which was with us when we were saying let's impeach. Now that they are eating bananas and apples, let's see if they will be able to talk with a full mouth.
How do you foresee this impeachment process being set up, Mr. Melema, particularly from a legislative framework from Parliament? How do you see it being constituted, knowing that there is no outright majority of any party right now in the National Assembly?
Well, we've constituted impeachment processes before, and then allocations to the impeachment committee will be determined by the numbers the party have. We have got an ad hoc committee now, and we are able to proceed with numbers of different parties that are represented in Parliament. That's how we are going to do it. It's just that the impeachment process is got investigative powers. The president has got to come, has got to sit there. He can't send any minister. And then, amongst other things, we're going to demand that the impeachment committee must go to Nkandla. We want to see where those people opened the hole, Phala Phala, or how they opened the hole, how did they sneak in and steal the money, how did the money come in. All of that nonsense that was said by Reserve Bank, by SARS, by Public Protector, all of that nonsense is going to be exposed, that they were using those institutions to protect an individual and not the constitution of our country.
By the way, speaking about EFF had warned President Ramaphosa just when he took over the office. And EFF made a statement that today is coming back to haunt the very same President Ramaphosa. On their statement, they had said that, listen, you must know that all the former presidents have been deceived by the members of their political party. Members of their political party have agreed with them, even when they were wrong. But members of their political parties have agreed, in fact, had defended them. We know that members of ANC defended Zuma against the Nkandla scandal. We know that members of the ANC stood with President Thabo Mbeki. We do know that even when matters were clear that they need to stand with the people and the law, but rather they stood and defended their comrade. So it was not surprising to see President Ramaphosa being defended by the ANC. It was not surprising to see people standing with the president to a point of voting with the president. It was never a surprising thing. At least to me, it was never surprising because they've been consistent in that they defend one another irrespective of the crimes committed by the individual. We have seen with the latest Minister of Social Development who received 2 donations cards that were meant for the political party, and now they are in the hands of her daughter. And she had also asked the political party recently to support her, to stand by her. Even when they are wrong, they will stand by each other, defend each other. President of the EFF warned Cyril Ramaphosa here.
You need someone who's going to be honest with you. The position you occupy needs someone who's going to be honest with you, because those who failed were told many a times that they are right even when they were wrong. Even when the Constitutional Court said to them, you are wrong. Even when the Public Protector said to them, you are wrong. Those around them kept on telling them they are right. And that's why they got it wrong. You must never ever listen to those who say you are right against the courts of South Africa, against Chapter 9 institutions of South Africa. Those are the institutions which are meant to defend our democracy, and they will forever guide us. So, President, there are people who served long in cabinet from Mandela's time. I have nothing against them. And I don't know why they don't make your work easy by coming to you and say we are not available, maybe as advisors, so that they give room to new ideas. Comrade President, Stellenbosch is a big problem. We know your proximity to Stellenbosch. We know your proximity to Oppenheimers. We have not elected Oppenheimers. We have not elected Stellenbosch yet. I told your predecessor in 2011 that we have not elected the Guptas. We elected him. And he must lead us. He refused to listen to that. We're warning you, President. We have not elected the Ruperts yet. We have not elected the Oppenheimers. Listen to the collective wisdom of people you are elected with, not white monopoly capital. It will not be here to defend you. Once you listen to white monopoly capital, you must know that you are likely not to finish your term. All the best, President. We are here. We are watching you, and will continue to engage you openly, not in secret. Thank you.
Mbeki, back in the days, had also warned us about the type of leaders that we choose and the type of people who wants to lead. President Mbeki's speech still becomes relevant even today. Now, you will remember there's a famous speech from President Mbeki where he spoke about, hear me out, there is a famous speech from President Mbeki where he spoke about Imikotoy being led by Imikotoy. That speech remains one of the most relevant clip that have been used even today. At some point it was used by Robert Marawa when he was still at SAPC. So let's make matters worse here. Listen to former President Thabo Mbeki saying this.
This Zulu word, Tumkotoi, it's not a word that is used normally. There would be people who would want to exploit the condition of our people and behave as Umkotoi behaves. We should be vigilant so that we don't have Imikotoi taking charge of our lives.
Now, Let me now pave a way for you to the respond by the president through his spokesperson, Makwenya. Makwenya has responded, and nothing is surprising with how he responded. I mean, Ramaphosa is shocked. In each and every speech or everything that happens in this country, when Ramaphosa is asked, is shocked. It's not surprising anymore. And two, Ramaphosa has always portrayed himself as a guy who believes in the Constitution, because it has always been said that the Constitution itself was drafted by Ramaphosa, or he was among the people who were leading the drafting of the document called the Constitution. So he cannot afford to be seen as if he is opposing the document that is said to be drafted by him. So we understand the words that are often used by this president. He's shocked, and two, he will tell you that he doesn't know, he believes in the rule of law. Allow the process to unfold. That's President Ramaphosa for you. So, are we shocked by this speech?
The presidency has noted the judgment of the Constitutional Court in the case brought by the economic freedom fighters, challenging the National Assembly's decision with respect to Section 89 proceedings against the president. President Ramaphosa respects the Constitutional Court's judgment and reaffirms his commitment to the Constitution, the independence of the judiciary, and the rule of law. President Ramaphosa has been consistent in providing his full assistance to the various inquiries into this matter. President Ramaphosa maintains that no person is above the law and that any allegation should be subjected to due process without fear, favor, or prejudice. The President calls on all South Africans to respect the court's judgment and all judicial institutions.
Maybe the question is, what will it take for President Ramaphosa to be impeached? Remember, this comes after the Section 89 report. Therefore, first of all, the Section 9 report was referred to the Speaker, Togotitiza, to decide. And you know what happened. Now, they will then bring everything back to the same Togotitiza. Togotitiza will then have to create the environment for the impeachment and the processes. She will then initiate the processes. Part of the things that are most likely going to happen are this. During impeachment committee inquiry, they are going to call the witnesses. They are going to request document and evidence. They are probably going to cross-examine those witnesses or people. And Ramaphosa will also be entitled to legal team or legal representation. We know that. That's step 2. So that's going to happen. The committee will then take the report. Once the committee is done with that report, it will then take the report back to the National Assembly. The report then will then be the grounds to decide whether or not Ramaphosa will be impeached. We'll come back to step 3. Step 4 is the fact that there will then be a vote. Most of the time, the Constitution stipulates that the National Assembly only remove a president from the office. Sorry, let me repeat this. The the Constitution stipulates that a National Assembly may only remove a president from the office on the grounds of serious violation of the Constitution of the law, serious misconduct, or inability to perform the function at the office, right? Now, listen to this. This is the part that you need to hear the most, which no one is willing to talk about this. And this is where Phala Phala might escape this. You need 2/3 majority to vote for Ramaphosa to be impeached. Now, you need to understand that in Parliament, you've got 400 seats. So, if you are looking for 2/3, it means you are looking for half of the vote of 400 and something. In other words, 201, 200 and something, but people often said that 264 is a comfortable number for you to outvote Ramaphosa out of office. We'll come back to that. So, the consequences of being removed from the office means that you may not receive any further benefit at that office. The deputy president will assume that. Now, let's start here. What you need to understand here is Ramaphosa has got, let's start with consequences. Or maybe let's start with 2/3 majority. Ramaphosa, we've seen him being in bed with the DA. Do you remember that based on the document that were leaked, there was an agreement that the DA will never vote against Ramaphosa on Phala Phala matter. These were the grounds in which the relationship between the DA and the ANC was formed. So the DA was, the relationship or the coalition between them was formed primarily for this matter. The question is, does the DA still willing, or is the DA still willing to uphold that? And I argue, I doubt, because today we heard from the EFF leader, CIC Malema, who said the DA is dragging its feet. It is because the DA remembers that it has got the agreement with Cyril Ramaphosa never to impeach Ramaphosa. Ramaphosa knew the possibility of this outcome and prepared for the possibility of this outcome. That's problem number one, is that the DA is the key player here. Why I'm saying that? Because all other political parties, all of them combined, they do not have the 2/3 majority. They need the DA. And that, I mean to say, if they have to make this happen, the DA and the ANC, their percentage is enough to frustrate this process again. So, Cyril Ramaphosa may still survive, irregardless of how people feel. He may still survive. The second option, let's talk about consequences. Cyril Ramaphosa right now will have to weigh his options. If I get impeached, I lose the benefit. Therefore, if I lose the benefit, why do I not resign before they impeach me? And I can tell you now, Ramaphosa is not going to resign tomorrow. He's going to wait for all of this process to start. Once the process is towards its maturity, then he will resign. If he has chosen this thing, right? So it's not just one of those situations where it's black and white. President Cyril Ramaphosa still can win the impeachment, because all that you need is money to get all these other political parties to side with you. And we know the relationship between the DA and the ANC if you remember vividly, exist for nothing else but this moment. With that being said, let me love and leave you here. I'll see you on the next episode. But until then, please take care.